Weeks turned into months. The movement spread quietly, carried not by media or fame but by resonance itself. Cities grew softer, ideas flowed faster, and conflict began to sound out of tune. Scientists found evidence that global electromagnetic patterns were subtly aligning with human heart rhythms. Economies shifted toward collaboration. The change wasn't dramatic or loud, it was organic, inevitable, like dawn light seeping through a closed curtain. The advisor often said, "It started with a message, but the message was just the mirror." You believed him. You could feel that the true communication was happening below language, in the silent exchange between thought and matter. Whenever doubt crept in, the universe sent another sign, a breeze at the right moment, a sudden alignment of numbers, a stranger's kind glance, and then one night, the hum returned stronger than ever. You woke to find your room glowing faintly, not with light but with awareness itself. You felt connected to everything, every city, every heartbeat, every star. For a moment, you could sense the whole network of existence vibrating as one. There was no difference between the pulse of your blood and the spin of galaxies. The message came again, simple and final, "You are the sign." You smiled, letting the understanding settle. The universe had never been sending you anything, it had been waiting for you to recognize that you were its voice. Its echo, its listening. The morning after that luminous night, everything appeared ordinary again. The hum receded into silence, and yet nothing felt lost. You could hear its echo in the hush between footsteps, in the interval between one breath and the next. The advisor called only once that day. He didn't speak for long, there was nothing left to explain. "It's staying," he said simply. "The connection doesn't need the noise anymore." You walked outside, feeling the familiar weight of sunlight on your skin. The city was waking in the same rhythm it always had, but there was a gentleness woven through the motion now. People seemed to move with awareness, as if every gesture acknowledged the invisible thread connecting them. A vendor handed change to a customer and both paused, smiling for no reason. A dog stopped barking mid-growl and tilted its head toward the sky, listening. Small miracles that no one named, because naming them would have diminished their quiet grace. Weeks turned into seasons. The idea of the message faded into myth, retold by those who had felt its presence but could no longer trace its origin. Some said it was a pulse from deep space, others claimed it was an experiment gone beautifully wrong. You and the advisor never corrected them. You understood that the source didn't matter. What mattered was the change that had rooted itself in human attention. The advisor eventually left the city. He went north, to a region of unbroken horizon where he built a modest observatory not to study the heavens but to listen. He spent his days mapping wind patterns, recording birdsong, translating them into tonal scales that reminded him of the first hum. He wrote to you rarely, but each letter carried the same message in different words. The universe speaks in continuity. You remained where you were, quietly folding the awareness into the texture of everyday life. You still worked, still laughed with friends, still worried sometimes about small things. Yet beneath all of it ran the steady current of connection. You no longer searched for signs because every moment had become one. The glow in streetlights, the rhythm of passing trains, the unspoken empathy in a stranger's glance, all of it whispered the same truth: we are listening together. Years later, you visited the advisor's observatory. It stood at the edge of a vast plain, surrounded by nothing but sky and wind. He greeted you with the same calm smile he had worn the first night you met. The two of you sat in silence, watching the stars rise. After a long time, he said, "Do you remember the first message?" You nodded. The universe is sending signs. He chuckled softly. And it was right. But the signs were us. You sat together until dawn, the horizon turning gold. The hum was still there, faint but eternal, woven into the turning of the planet. It didn't need to speak anymore, it had become the fabric of everything. When you finally stood to leave, he handed you a small recorder. "Just wind and starlight," he said. "But sometimes, when you play it back, you'll hear the old tone again." You took it, feeling gratitude that went beyond words. As you walked away, the sun lifted fully over the plain, scattering light across the observatory dome. For a heartbeat, the reflection formed a perfect circle, brief, silent, complete. That night, back in your own home, you played the recording. At first there was only wind, then a faint vibration rising through the static until it resonated with your pulse. You closed your eyes, and the same understanding returned as clearly as it had the first time. The message had never ended. It had simply changed shape, becoming indistinguishable from life itself. You smiled, whispering to the stillness, "I'm still listening." And somewhere in the quiet space between stars, the universe answered, not with words but with the soft expansion of being heard. Years drifted by in gentle rhythm. The hum became a part of memory, like the scent of rain or the way sunlight moves across a wall. It never demanded belief, it simply existed. Children born long after the first pulse still felt its trace, an instinctive ease with the unseen connections between things. The world had not turned perfect, storms still came, people still forgot, but beneath every difficulty ran a deeper patience, as though the planet itself had learned to breathe more slowly. You aged, as all things do, but the awareness never left. Sometimes, walking through the city at dusk, you'd pause at a crosswalk and feel it again, the quiet shimmer in the air that once changed everything. It wasn't a voice anymore, it was the texture of being. The advisor's letters came less often, then stopped entirely, but you could sense his presence whenever you looked up at the night sky. The stars over the horizon seemed to carry his calm. You imagined him still listening somewhere, still mapping the invisible symphony that connected all things. One evening, while cleaning a drawer, you found the old recorder he had given you. The plastic was worn smooth from time. You pressed play. At first there was nothing but static, then the faint breath of wind, and then, so quietly you almost doubted it, the hum returned. It wasn't mechanical. It was alive. You closed your eyes, and for an instant you were back in that first moment, the screens glowing, the air trembling, the universe leaning close to whisper. The sound grew softer, fading into your heartbeat. You realized that the message had never been about discovery or proof. It had been about remembering something every being already knew, that to exist is to resonate. To be part of a field so wide and patient it holds every thought, every atom, every silence. The universe had never sent you signs, it had been your own awareness sending them back to itself. You turned off the recorder and sat quietly until the room filled with dawn light. The city stirred beyond the window, ordinary and miraculous all at once. You smiled, feeling the hum settle into stillness. There would be no more messages, because there was no distance left to cross between the sender and the receiver. Everything was already speaking in the same voice. You whispered one last time, not to the sky or to the machines, but to the presence within and around everything. I understand. I'm asking you to believe again in the power of action. The kind of belief that doesn't need permission or applause. The kind that simply says, if not me, then who? Because the world doesn't change when it's convenient, it changes when people decide it has to. We can't wait for some perfect alignment of politics or technology. We can't keep saying someday. Someday is today. Everything we've built as a species, the skyscrapers, the rockets, the satellites, the networks connecting billions, all of it exists because someone, somewhere, decided to move before it was comfortable. That's the same energy we need now, multiplied across humanity. Let me tell you something that people rarely say out loud: the future doesn't belong to the smartest people. It belongs to the most determined. Intelligence is common, persistence is rare. What determines whether a species survives is not genius, but grit. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and extinctions because a few of us refused to stop trying. But lately, we've built systems that make it easier to complain than to create, easier to destroy than to build, easier to divide than to unite. That's the algorithmic trap we're in, one designed to keep us comfortable, entertained, and harmless. The only way out is rebellion, not violent rebellion, but creative rebellion. Build something better. Refuse to settle for mediocrity disguised as progress. That I see people online every day arguing about politics, identity, markets, memes, and I wonder, where is that energy when it comes to saving the planet? Where is that passion when it comes to designing the next generation of energy systems, food supplies, education models, or governance structures? We are the most connected species in history, yet we spend that connection screaming into the void instead of building bridges. It's time to redirect that energy into creation. The internet was supposed to be humanity's collective brain. Instead, it's becoming its nervous breakdown. But it doesn't have to be. We can use the same tools that divide us to unite us, the same algorithms that spread chaos to spread clarity, courage, and compassion. We've forgotten how powerful we are. A single viral idea can shift billions of minds overnight. A single invention can rewrite the laws of what's possible. A single person, standing up at the right moment, can change history. And the truth is, history is changing faster than ever. In the next decade, we'll create technologies that make the Industrial Revolution look like a warm-up act. But the question that keeps me up at night is this: will we use those technologies to build a thriving civilization, or to accelerate our collapse? Because technology itself is neutral. Fire can cook food or burn forests. AI can cure disease or manipulate minds. The direction depends on the moral compass of the humans steering it. That's why the next revolution won't be technological, it will be ethical. We need a renaissance of responsibility, not imposed by law, but chosen by conscience. You can't legislate integrity. You can't regulate curiosity. Those are internal forces, and they must be reawakened one person at a time. Every decision you make, what you build, what you share, what you tolerate, either pushes civilization forward or holds it back. There's no neutral ground anymore. We're all engineers of the future, whether we admit it or not. That I want to be honest with you. We are closer to global collapse than most people realize. Supply chains are fragile. Ecosystems are strained. Political systems are paralyzed. Misinformation spreads faster than truth. AI models are evolving faster than human laws can adapt. This is not doomsday talk, it's data. But data doesn't decide destiny. Humans do. Collapse isn't inevitable, it's a choice we make through inaction. And every choice to act, to innovate, to cooperate, to dream, is a vote against collapse. The way out is simpler than it seems. It starts with clarity. Ask yourself what kind of world you want your grandchildren to inherit, not just in material terms, but in spirit. A world of fear and division, or a world of courage and exploration? Once you have that vision, make every decision in alignment with it. That's how we build a future, not with slogans, but with consistent direction. A million small actions in the same direction create unstoppable momentum. That's how revolutions begin, quietly, in the minds of people who refuse to believe the future is fixed. That I know you might be thinking, but I'm just one person. And that's exactly what every changemaker in history thought before they changed the world. The truth is, no one changes the world alone, they just start the chain reaction. That's what each of us must do now. Start the reaction. Spark the momentum. It doesn't matter where you are, what your background is, or how much power you think you have. Power is an illusion until you use it. Courage turns potential into motion. We need to redefine what success means. It can't just be about wealth or comfort anymore. Success must mean contribution. Success must mean leaving the planet better than you found it. We've been measuring progress in GDP, followers, and stock prices, but real progress is measured in longevity, sustainability, happiness, and freedom. The irony is, we already have the tools to build a utopia. Clean energy is within reach. Food abundance is possible. Disease eradication is feasible. Education for all is technologically trivial. What's missing isn't capability, it's coordination. And that's a leadership problem. Not leadership from presidents or CEOs, but from ordinary people who choose to lead themselves. I believe in decentralization not just for technology, but for responsibility. When power is distributed, creativity flourishes. When responsibility is centralized, corruption grows. The most powerful thing you can do right now isn't to wait for some global movement, it's to start local. Fix one problem in your community. Build one sustainable system. Teach one person a skill that will make them independent. That's how you create a ripple that becomes a wave. The great revolutions of our time won't come from governments, they'll come from neighborhoods, startups, open source projects, and collaborative networks of people who care enough to act. That we must remember that civilization itself is an experiment. There's no guarantee it succeeds. Every empire before us thought it was permanent, and every one of them collapsed when they stopped adapting. The difference this time is that our civilization is global. There is no somewhere else to go if it fails. That's why Mars matters, not as an escape, but as an expansion, a reminder that we're capable of impossible things when we work together. Building a city on another planet isn't about running away from Earth, it's about learning to cooperate at a scale we've never achieved before. If we can do that, we can fix anything down here, and that's the heart of it. Everything I've built, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, Starlink, they're not companies. They're tools. Tools for extending the light of consciousness, for ensuring that the spark of intelligence that began on this planet doesn't flicker out. I don't know how much time we have left before that spark faces its greatest test, but I do know this: surrender is not an option. The universe doesn't reward those who give up. It rewards those who adapt, who persist, who build in the face of chaos. If we rise to this challenge, we won't just survive, we'll evolve into something extraordinary.